what my amendment does, along with the gentlelady from the 3rd and the gentleman from the 4th, is ask for an economic impact statement. Now, the rules of this legislature allow for the Speaker to request an economic impact statement, but unfortunately, when it comes to this bill, we haven't played by the rules. See, it was originated in the middle of the night, not just in the House, but also in the Senate and Finance Committee. And there's no doubt that this bill is going to have a great economic impact. And I'm not talking about a positive economic impact. I'm talking about a negative economic impact. 1,700 jobs, 66 kennels, and the families that go with it. We know, based upon the handout I put on your desk yesterday, that the state derives money from the Greyhound industry. And we also know that if we pass this legislation, Greyhound industry is gone. So how much money do we actually get back? If you guys paid attention to what I put on your desk yesterday, it's a summary of the 2016 annual report from the West Virginia Racing Commission. And in there, it shows a total handle of money that is derived from both the Greyhounds and the Thoroughbreds. Now, you would think that the Thoroughbreds, which are getting actually more money under this bill, would be sending more money back to the state of West Virginia. Well, the total handle for Thoroughbreds, over $330 million. Total handle for the Greyhounds, over $100 million. Guess who paid more back to the state share in West Virginia? The Greyhounds. Now, how does that work? Because on the total handle, Thoroughbreds, the Greyhounds are taxed at a higher percentage. They're taxed at 1%. The Thoroughbreds are taxed at 0.23. So if this actual bill is about economics, which we've been told this whole legislature is about economics, then I wonder why we're trying to cut out an industry where we're actually getting more money in return than the Thoroughbreds. Why are we not looking at the economic impact as Rule 95 puts out? Now, Rule 95, and how that works is how we typically have a fiscal note, but you know, that's optional in this legislature as well. The economic statement would be on the front of the bill, and it would have ES, just like we have FS for the fiscal note. Neither the Senate version nor the House version have ES on the front because there's no economic statement attached. I assure you, this is the most fiscally irresponsible piece of legislation to hit our desks.
Gentleman may state his point. Use your mic.
Called on to explain his amendment?
Yes.
That is my question. Is the gentleman
I would
explaining his
ask the
amendment?
gentleman just to explain his amendment and restrain his comments to the amendment before us.
We'll get back to the economic impact, which is what I was getting to anyway. Need a little background information. So, 1,700 jobs total, 1,100 which reside in Ohio County in the 3rd District, 66 farms. That results in 4.6 million direct and indirect payroll into the 3rd District in the Northern Panhandle. Now, let's talk about the real ramifications here. We're taking away an industry. This money-derived, the economic impact here is that an industry which actually brings people into the state of West Virginia. You know, we're always talking about ways to bring people in. We're going to make ourselves less competitive. So the impact of that is that we're taking out not just an impact that comes back to the state, we're also talking about impact of money that goes back to the city and city pensions, firefighters, police officers. Their pensions are tied to this money. There's some more economic impact for you. Also, we're taking away an industry that is growing. There has been a 3% increase in the Greyhound industry in the past year. An increase. So an industry that's going up, we're saying, no thanks, get out of town. We will also have 7,000 displaced dogs. That's going to have an economic impact. So all of these things, I want to say, well, let's take a look at it. If leadership doesn't want to take a look at it, I'm going to do it along with a few other delegates in this body to add some responsibility to this fiscally irresponsible move. So we want to look at the impact of losses of employment in West Virginia, which we know is going to be roughly around 1,700 jobs. We want to look at the cost of state government when it comes to unemployment compensation and other assistance. We want to look at the impact of state tourism let's not forget Wheeling resides in that little sliver between Ohio and Pennsylvania. And individuals, specifically a lot from Pennsylvania, now many were in the gallery earlier, but we moved this bill to the foot for whatever reason, to maybe hide some facts, to let everybody leave after they got up and were here at 9 a.m. after driving 3 hours from the Northern Panhandle to be here. So we owe them a duty to actually look at what's going to happen. We owe a duty to taxpayers to show that what we do with their money is on sound financial grounds, which, again, is not part of the bill. We also need to look at the loss of revenue by other casinos, not just those in Wheeling. There's also dogs that run in the southern part of the state. We also need to look at the impact of the state budget as it relates to dogs, which I'm sure we're going to hear a few things about that. We need to look at, as I mentioned earlier, the pension contributions when it comes to our firefighters and police officers. I mean, we're taking away pension money for politics. Not sound policy, for politics. So we would like this study to be done and to have it submitted. It would be an independent study by Marshall and West Virginia combined as the rules lay out for us, and it would be submitted to this legislature by December 31st, 2017. So if we're going to pass such devastating legislation, I would hope, and I'm sure our taxpayers would expect us, when it comes to how we're dictating their money, and how if we're going to mess in a budget year with something that brings in money and takes it away, that we are held accountable for it. And that we can look at it and say either we did the right thing or the wrong thing. Either you pass the test or you fail it, but you got to have a measurement. And under this bill, the way that we have done it, we have bypassed Rule 95, we have bypassed an opportunity to actually have facts and sound policy, and we did so in the middle of the night, like we're trying to do again. So that's all that my amendment does, and I reserve the right to close, Mr. Speaker. I want to remark on a few comments I just heard. You know, this bill, how it was rolled out and how we've been talking about it now for quite some time, has been rather disingenuous. First off, we hear words like subsidy, because that's a good word, right? Politically, that sounds amazing, because everybody would be like, I want to cut subsidies, I want to save taxpayer money. Well, I have great news for you. This is not a subsidy. If you hate gambling and you never went to the track, your money never went back to the dogs. This is not taking taxpayer money. It is not a subsidy. We also heard...
Order. Are we talking about subsidies or are we talking about the impact study?
Well, to the gentleman, I'm trying to give a little bit of leeway here to everyone on each side of the aisle here, but we've gone pretty far afield in many ways from the economic impact study that is called for in this amendment. So I would ask that the gentleman, as I've asked those who are opposed to his amendment, to restrain their comments to the economic impact study that's called for in your amendment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now we know that's not a subsidy. Let's get to the point that we heard about the jobs that are impacted, and as if there's questions to that. Now, I heard, I believe, the gentleman from the 35th say, well, there are only like 77 jobs. That's very disingenuous. He says, oh, they just work the track. Just 77 jobs impacted. Route 2 is full of trucks going up and down. Kennels are full of employees, trainers, breeders. Those are jobs. That's like saying that the West Virginia legislature is only comprised of 134 jobs because there are only 134 members. Therefore, the rest do not count. That's very disingenuous. There are hundreds upon hundreds and hundreds of jobs just in Ohio County alone. Many of the kennels are located in Brooke County. And the gentleman from the 2nd could get up and tell you how the trucks go up and down the highway with people that are employed by these kennels. To say that the only jobs impacted are those that reside within the confines of the track itself, I think goes back to my entire point when it comes to the economic fiscal analysis of this issue, is that we're being disingenuous and we're only hand-selecting certain numbers. Anybody can pick out something like that and then run with it. We also heard that purses get paid out, and they get paid out more money. Well, I mean, yeah, guys, I got something to tell you. Gamblers make money. We just passed a bill to keep Powerball winners anonymous. To say that people who get purses get paid more is like saying that we should just quit Powerball because the state's not making enough money from it, and the winners of the Powerball make more than the state. Are we serious right now? I mean, are we going to shut down Powerball because the winners may not be from West Virginia? When you say that purse winners aren't even from West Virginia, you know what that tells me? People are coming to our state. They're coming to our state to participate in something that we offer that other states may not. So when we talk about the economic impact of what's going to happen, let's talk about the fact that Wheeling is located on the border of Ohio and Pennsylvania, and that actually the metropolitan area of Pennsylvania, Allegheny County, has a higher population than our entire state. So we're going to take something that makes us diverse, makes us more competitive, and do away with it when over 3 million people sit within a 50-minute drive. That is not being just fiscally responsible. It is not looking at what an actual impact of an industry may have, and it simply makes us less competitive. So, I'm not going to get off base here because many have. But I will say we owe a duty to make sure we're doing the right thing. And I think it's clear, based upon the numbers, based upon just sound logical reasoning, that we have to do the right thing here, and that we have to look, if we're going to cut 17, could you imagine if we weren't dealing with the Greyhound Breeding Development Fund, if we were dealing with the Coal Miners Fund and jobs that were tied to that, if we'd even be having this conversation right now? We owe a duty to all employees of West Virginia, those who moved into our state, raised their families here, send their children to college here, to not just close the doors on them and say, get out of our state. I ask for the yeas and nays, Mr. Speaker.